Hey everyone, and welcome back to Market Mama's channel. I'm Kendra and I have Becky here, and we are day traders and podcasters. Becky's from Pacific Northwest, I'm from Northern California, and we've created Market Mamas about 6 months coming up just to have a community to build a place for other traders, aspiring profitable traders, newbie traders, experienced traders, just everyone to join and gather in this experience of this very hard journey, and be able to have some real talk around it, and expose the difficulty of it and normalize it. And so that's the space we've created. And what's super exciting is Becky and I have made some baby gains in ways of we're growing not only the channel with subscribers and views, but we're getting some participation, which thank you all. It's amazing. And we recently got some really good, like, in-depth questions, specific questions that we were like, okay, you asked and we're going to answer. And instead of having to get lost on a YouTube short, Becky and I were like, let's answer these and make an episode out of it. And this would be an amazing episode for any of you who are in this arena with us to comment and, give us your perspective, because Becky and I are going to answer from our own experience and our own journeys, but we all know how much this varies for each one of us. So please comment and let us know your guys' take on these questions as well.
Exactly. Yes. I love that we're getting questions, because it's like, yes, this is like, we want a community atmosphere, like dialogue, conversation about like this whole journey. So this is a good thing for us. We're excited. So thank you, YouTube friend. And so first question from this audience member is, she's newer to trading, I believe. And so she said that she has a plan to treat trading in sim similar to a video game, and to play it for as long as it takes to feel confident enough to know when to be aggressive and when to hold back. And then it's not stressful because you're not in a financially engaged situation because it's sim. But then she says, if I need to take a year or more to reach that place, that's okay. And so I just think okay. So for me, I started with the program and I did a little live trading myself and got hooked to the stock market. And so then I joined a program that was teaching the stock market. And there I started in sim also. I used Think or Swim initially. And I would just it was a whole new world. It was so pretty and exciting. And so I definitely used the heck out of sim. But I love how she said normalizing the fact that it could take a year to really figure it out, because I went to live way too soon. So I did sim for 3 months, and then I had enough little wins, but that I wanted the real money. I jumped too soon. Because you think you know everything in the first year. There's a lot of little micro wins where you're starting to open up and learn new things. And it seems like it can be easy to just take money by clicking buttons from your home computer. And the allure of it is very real, especially when you're around other people that maybe are months to years more advanced than you, and you see them taking trades that you kind of start to understand. And so you want to get your foot in the door and start making an impact for your family. And so I did sim for 3 months, and then I started trading live and I started winning, and then I gave it all back, and then my account started to diminish, and I was like, whoa, Nelly. And I went back to sim for several more months. I leaned into swing trading. And so for me, for the next year after that, I would say I would sim trade for a while and get my confidence built back up. And then I would trade live, whether it was full contracts or micro contracts. And then I would similarly still be roller coastering. And so it took me a year and a half, I would say, until I consistently traded with real money. And that was just my journey. That was my experience. That was my first trading community and what they taught me. And then what I learned beyond that gave me even more confidence. And so I do think it's going to be different for everyone, but you kind of just feel it out and know that you can ping back to sim if you go too soon, and to really do utilize sim to experience everything. And, you can treat it like a video game to an extent where the outcomes aren't hurting your family. But I would encourage you to treat it as seriously as possible, as real money-ish as possible. That way, you get more purposeful with the trades and you study them more. So that's kind of where I come from on that. What do you think, Kendra?
Yeah, I love this question, and it's literally it's just so much to unpack. I think that one of the most important things here, our YouTube friend, is have a goal, but be very open and flexible with how you're going to achieve it. Because that's where it's always strategy season, our like Mark and Mama slogan came from, because, and Becky has on the shirt actually. Hey.
Stand up. I did not plan that. I'm just saying.
I know. And I just really yeah. Anyways, we all started out with a plan of like, okay, I'm going to trade sim this long, and then I'm going to transition. And it's just constantly like this revolving door. I feel like when you are first learning of, you just got to try shit out, and you're learning, like you're gaining value from even when everything falls apart and the plan you made, the goal, the benchmark you made, didn't work, it blew up in your face, or you were doing great and then you fell off. I've heard about the idea of, treating it like a video game, and, just focusing on the points. But it's crazy because as mature traders now, we try to not think about the points. We try to just trade the charts and, trade our process, our edge. And so and the confidence is tricky too, because there's layers of confidence. Like you'll need a amount of confidence to jump from sim to real money, right? And then you'll need confidence once you start, being profitable in real money. You'll still need confidence to not, completely revert to old habits and give it all back and, get greedy and, let the demons come out. So it's really just, when you talk about being aggressive when needed, like these are all very great points and great questions, because it's literally everything that this trading journey, like all these things that come out of us, but they come out at different times, different phases and stages in different ways. And so we're always kind of having to rechart our course, honestly. And that's what this really takes, because there isn't just it's always like, what's my next best move in this time, with everything I've acquired, with where I'm at, with my whole situation, like what is the next best thing for me to do now? And what is a way I can challenge myself so I don't get stuck here? So I know for me with sim, like I had to Becky and I are very different. I had to be pushed. Like I would constantly show my charts, my trade plans to my mentor at the time. And it took me 6 months to get enough confidence to be like, okay, I can actually take this trade with real money. And so it's just, everyone's different. And then, but when, in terms of, the stress, you're not in a stressed financial situation. So I want to speak to that too, because I used to say that. And I kind of feel like it was almost a cop out, because like Becky said, we want to treat this as serious as possible. So when you're coming from a place of well, I don't need this money from trading for my lifestyle. That's great. It's great if you're not, in a desperate, desperation mode. It's great that you're not, willing to gamble your life savings, for example. But at the same time, it can almost be counterproductive if you're not looking at it from that, if you're looking at it okay, well, I have all the time I need, I don't need to be profitable right now. It's a fine line, because why not? If you've put in the work, if you have learned the skill set, if you've done, your time, you paid your market tuition, well, at some point it has to be okay, I need to make money from this. I should be making money from this. I deserve to be making money from this. So, and I know that there's people who have said when their backs were against the wall, they were able to unlock, a different part of themselves to really step up to the plate and perform the way they needed to. So it can be tricky when you're in that place also of well, I don't really need to earn money from my trading, because you don't want to treat it like it's just a hobby. We all want to become very profitable from this.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I think that there's something really to it when you have real skin in the game. I think that statement is very real to me, because every time I would be real money, it's a completely different experience from anyone who is just trading sim. When you go to live, it's it's a whole new world. Your palms are sweaty and your knees are tapping, and you go in before you plan, no matter how many times you've taken a certain setup in sim. it's just different when you're really putting your own money and capital on the line. And so at some point, once you practice, you figured out how to execute. I love the idea of going to micros with futures day trading and before you go to minis, because that lowers the risk threshold and the leverage, but it allows you, because it's 1/10. So say an ES contract regular mini is $50, a micro is $5. And so that allows you to have real skin in the game, and you can make some real money. But it's different. Your emotional ties and responses and your execution techniques are going to stumble no matter how smooth you can get them in sim. So at some point, once you start to get some real skill, I would definitely encourage you to go in light and then get your feet wet and then grow from there. I think that that's a really good place to start this whole journey. The next question she had in the same thread, she has 4 questions in the same thread, which we're like, but these are great. Let's talk. So then she talks about, how often do you analyze and go over the trades that didn't go as planned? So you want to tackle this one first, Kendra?
Yeah. So again, it really depends on which part of the journey. So in the beginning, when Becky and I started forming our accountability partnership, one of the first things we did was we were like, we're logging every single trade. And so we would naturally, we took a lot of trades back then. So it was really that is a very important part when you're first learning and defining your edge, because you need that data. If you're not always sticking to a specific setup, if you haven't really, created those parameters for yourself, and you're still learning, you're still, finding like what trades speak more to you, what you're more inclined to recognize, then definitely need to go over those trades that didn't go as planned and that went as planned. So I would just say combing through every trade in the beginning for like at least a year until you can really see those patterns. Extract from that data, like, okay, this is where I perform well, whether it's the time of day, whether it's the position, what you're more biased towards, the market conditions. Like, this is all like really critical, like data that you can, harness and use and develop your edge from. So I would say, try to make an effort of going over all your trades as you're learning. And then, of course, even as you continue to develop your edge, even now, it's just kind of evolved a little bit. So now what going over our trades looks like more now is we talk about what we did. Like, we kind of have a more, a system in place now of certain setups we look for. We know our style a little better. And so we're able to easily kind of explain, okay, this was the trade I was looking for. It either happened or it didn't. I either took it to this target or I got out too early, or I was completely wrong, or I missed this setup. So it's a little more easier now that we have a better understanding of ourselves as traders. So it's easier to just go over the trades. It doesn't have to be as like fine tooth comb, because like we understand like what we did. Like we pretty much have our tool belt that we, use every day. And then of course it's still really good to do the replay, especially if we have like off days where we didn't really see the true opportunities. Then those are really good opportunities to like, carve out additional time and say you were executing in the wrong direction, or your context, your understanding was just way off. Then you can go back and, replay the markets and really kind of see, okay, what was developing, what were the opportunities that were presenting themselves that I wasn't seeing. And then that'll be really good for you just to continue to grow and level up, and just to remind you that even if you didn't execute well, if you go back and put in that time, it kind of like doesn't erase the fact that you sucked that day, but it reminds you of like, okay, the market is abundant. There's always opportunities. Like I might have missed it this day, but you're learning from that. And now hopefully you'll recognize the next time, maybe, you're reading your data wrong or you're having a bias in, you'll be able to pull from that additional time, you put in where you did go and analyze what didn't go as planned. And it really will add to your experience. So do it as often as you can, but just make sure you're in a good focus, like mindset where you're able to like do your due diligence and like really learn from it and record it and then share it with someone.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. I think we did start journaling early because it was advised, and there's so many different ways that you can journal. There's like paid programs that you can use to journal, but we just like hand wrote it in the beginning, and then there's a Google Sheets is free, right? And so then you can I will write out every trade, what sort of accounts I took, what leverage I took, the time entry, time exit, short, long, what, and the rationale, because I like to know, like I have certain setups that present in different days, different trading contexts. And some of them are like A+ setups for me. And if I see them, like I want all my accounts roped in and I want a little higher leverage at this point. And I know that because I have traded it so many times. And my data has led me to understand that when this exact situation, exact is never exact, but like when this certain situation and context sets up, I can have more confidence in that because my win rate is higher. And I only know my win rate with certain setups by having that data collected over years now. And so I think that it does teach you the lessons of like repeatedly losing when I take a trade in the first 5 minutes of market open. Maybe that's not my jam. Maybe if I find that if my trades work better half an hour after market open, and that's what my data has shown me, that I take a loss first and then I start taking wins when I get more in sync, when I get more data, when the market gets her wiggles out with all the entry level scalping in the beginning minutes. That is information that you can use to dial in your process, figure out what works for you and where you need to put more energy. And that information will only make you a stronger trader. And having that data over time will show you that. And then you can use it, like Kendra said, on lesson days. You can go back and replay it, study it more, make notes, and share it with your accountability partner if you have one, or a community. And it can really expand your horizons. And the more you understand about yourself and your own tendencies, the more you can fine tune it, and you will get better faster collecting data. And you do have to make it work for your life. You can't spend hours and hours every night, but just do the minimum that will give you pertinent information to help you grow, I think.
Understand what kind of learner you are too. Like I'm a visual learner and more like I like a picture. I learn from pictures. So for me, my analyzing now is all screenshots, like screenshots of my charts. Like I want to see, the execution on that. But sometimes it works if you make recordings, like maybe you record yourself while you're in the trade or after the trade, or the journaling writing. So it's like, there's lots of different angles, but just make sure that however, your learning style is, that's how you're serving and supporting yourself and analyzing, so you can have the better shot of actually improving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've learned over time, like I do better on rotational days and the trending days, I have struggled. And I know that just based on my experience, but my journal also tells me that. So like when we're having one of those days, I will know those days I want to put more energy into documenting what I took, what the potential was that I maybe left on the table, and then even replaying that night. And so the more data you get about what your experience is, the better you can just improve. It's that Jared Tendler inchworm thing. You want to bring up your C game, but you can't actually target that C game very specifically without the data of saying this setup, I consistently only win 20% of the time. So I really had to know when to sit out or target that for direct improvement, and ask your mentor about what you're doing wrong that day and see if you can work on that. So journaling everything is the moral of that answer, is figuring out how and what it works for your life that gives you the most value, and then do study pretty much every trade. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah. It's constantly a lot of work, but it's important to always have something specific that you're aware of, an area you're trying to target, and then something you can review yourself on, because that's the only way we can grow. So it is a lot of work, but it gets easier over time, especially as you do have an edge, and you're not trying to figure out your edge now. You're just trying to figure out more of the psychology aspect of it, and more of the when you're deviating from your system and what triggered that, and how you can just try to avoid that. Yeah. So what else? So we also have what was the most difficult concept to grasp when you started? So this one's easy for me. Do you want to? Is yours more in depth?
You go first.
Okay. So mine was so silly. Like I could not grasp the concept of shorting. And I think that was because like when I very first started learning, like I was way more swing trader. So I did all my analysis on, price potentially going up. And the idea of me was like, I'm buying something like, so it's going to increase in value. Like, you buy something and then, you get something in the future. And so this whole idea of shorting, like, you buy high to, you sell high to buy back low. I was like, what are you talking about? How can you buy something that's not there yet? Like, or how can you sell something that's, it was just silly. Like, I was like, what, like shorting? Like, so that was my hang up for a long time. Like and maybe even subconsciously now, like I have a long bias. Like I like to long the market way more than shorting. So that's one of the things I target specifically is being better at shorting. And, because it's great to be able to play both hands. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, with only one trade, one direction, but it was just silly. Like I, for the longest, did not like shorting. I did not understand it. I was like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why would we want something to go down? Like the markets always went up. So
love this, Kendra. I didn't know that you and I have ever even asked each other this specific question until literally this moment on camera, because that makes sense with your trading evolution.
Yeah, it does.
That's awesome. Okay. The most difficult concept to grasp, I think, God, I'm still working on it, to be honest, years into the game. And I think it's the risk. I am stubborn, and I struggle with taking my stops. That has literally been my issue from week one, day one, probably, of like, so I'll make a plan and market will be going in a certain direction, and I really will have a strong intuition. And I'm a person who leans heavily into my intuition, just in my personal life, in my other career in nursing. And I carry that over into trading, but it wasn't yet earned, I think. And so I will project that I feel like I have an intuition and I feel strongly that it's going to go this direction. And so my early habit was to deepen my stops and to give it more room to play to be right. And I still, to this current week, am working through this, because now it's very clearly identified in my personality that I have a higher pain tolerance, I guess. Like I will take more risk and I will let it ride, and I will weather a drawdown if I see the data. And so what I've had to do with that is get better at knowing when I'm wrong and taking the hit, and, recognizing that I can let it get loose and drop, and that's not actually a sustainable process, because when you get a lot of wiggle room and you allow a deeper stop and you really are wrong, it can cause significant damage in a day, and that's not an effective way to trade, especially long term. You can't allow that hang up doesn't allow your accounts to compound. You can wipe out 2 weeks worth of work in one trade potentially if you really mismanage it. And so for me, I think it was, but it's going to go up. Just let it play, like let it be. But if you're trying to be a day trader in the futures market, the leverage is too high. You can lose too much money with that attitude, that perspective, that approach. And so I have been hurt from this financially and emotionally and mentally. And I've had to work through like that deep loss that I thought that I could take. I couldn't, and it hurt me in multiple ways. And I have to figure out what it is about me that thinks that this is an okay way to manage it, when every mentor out there will say you have to manage your risk first. And so that, I think, is still a work in progress, but to know thyself, right? And I think journaling out written as well as the actual trades has been really helpful. And then this open relationship that I have with Kendra, my accountability partner, has really helped as well, because it's a safe place to be like, I don't want to be doing this, but my inclination is to do this thing, and I got to figure it out. And being able to openly say that instead of internalize it when you're having like a day where you lose a lot of money, like you could take that into a deep, dark personal space, and the isolation of these feelings that you can have when you're with the financial situation can be really hard. So I would, if anyone else is in that situation where you've allowed a really deep loss in a day, have a person to say it to, and to acknowledge that was a choice that you made and you don't want to continue making them. Because I know for me, I didn't want to do it, but I did it. And so that's a big one. That's a heavy one. I got a little dark there for a minute, but I would encourage you all to have a community or a person to let that out at, and acknowledge it. Don't bury it or hide it, because it will not get better unless you recognize it and you target it head on with behavioral changes. And then you see that it gets better, and you can actually start to compound your accounts with your winning trades and cut your losers short, so that you can be a winner in the long term. So that was definitely a biggie.
Well, and it's a lot of moving parts too, because we we get a lot of our understanding of market context and make our trade plans based on a larger timeframes usually. Mm-hmm. And it can be very challenging then to translate that to the small timeframes that we trade. So a lot of times in our head, we're thinking of a bigger picture, but we're not, we just, with the leverage with trading futures, like we just don't have the room to allow that, you know, in the accounts we trade. So it's challenging. It's challenging to, you know, especially on days when we have really, you know, a lot of chop, or we have, you know, really big pullbacks. I mean, it's great. Like when we have these great trending days and we have a great trade plan and the market just goes. But those days are way more rare. So it's just always having to understand, like, okay, I have this trade plan, I have this bias, but is it going to happen right now in this moment? And if I'm going to try to hold for longer, is it even feasible for, you know, where price is at, how many points I would have to, you know, potentially go in the negative with. So it's challenging. It's challenging because we have all this great understanding that we've learned and all these great tools to analyze the market, but we have, you know, limitations because of what we trade. So it's been a lot of lessons for sure. Right. So what else? Last question was, did you guys take a course or program to learn this, or was it self-taught? So definitely not self-taught. I mean, we've, from having taken, Becky and I have each taken 2 courses, from having that, we've certainly like taught ourselves a lot in terms of strategies, in terms of our psychology. But the basic fundamental technical side of trading, I knew nothing about the stock market. I knew nothing about trading, career, platforms, brokerages, like, you know, I didn't know anything. So I definitely had to take a beginner course, and it was a good course for that, for teaching me, you know, just the basics, you know, stock market kind of 101, you know, futures 101, how to use a platform, how, you know, that part of it all. And then eventually, and I did have a period where I was teaching myself a lot of, you know, creating my own edge and adding on, you know, stuff that I wasn't necessarily taught, and stuff that I was developing from the baseline of what I was taught. And then I was very fortunate to be introduced to another, you know, more advanced style and strategy. And so I definitely have been taught from others who are way more advanced and have been in this game longer. And I would recommend that you can certainly find a ton of stuff out there on YouTube, of course, and I'm sure other places, you know, that maybe you don't have to take an actual course or program. But I would say that it's nice when you have something that's like packaged for you, when someone has done the work and who really believes in their edge and what they've studied. Mind you, be very careful with who you would, you know, potentially purchase that, you know, from, but, you know, do your research, you know, but it's really great. I think we have to have some knowledge and investing in our knowledge. Becky and I have invested a lot in our knowledge, and that's critical. Again, it's about treating this like it's not a side hustle. It's not a hobby. There's so many things that are, you know, that kind of guide people, I think, in that direction, like these cheap courses, you know, these promises of like, you know, making however much in like a short amount of time. But we can speak from our own experience. Like that's just not how this works.
No, you do have to go to college to be a day trader. And that is not in the traditional sense of like University of Oregon. It's, you find a program online and they will teach you the things that you need to know to have an edge. And then you will figure out what speaks to you most specifically. Like Kendra and I met in our first trading community, very first, that taught us all the basics. And then we have adjusted as we've gone, but you have to figure out what speaks to you. And then you have to dig into that. So then that's when you start fine tuning the mentor that speaks to your style of trading and how you most feel like you want to execute. And then you can develop your edge there, because your trading has to meld with your personality. And so I think just figure it out and reach your fingers out. And YouTube is a great place to get experience to different mentors that potentially have bigger programs that you can join. But definitely do your due diligence, because these programs all cost money. And you want to make sure that you're getting the quality that you deserve to really elevate your process, and then take it seriously. Like my children, when I attend my live streams, I tell them that it's my college class, because I'm trying to be a very successful day trader and I'm a student of the game. And so I take it seriously. I show up and I learn and I take notes and I communicate with my community and I share openly what I have learned and what I'm still learning. And there's so much value in that. So pay for a mentor is our experience if you can. You can self-teach a lot, but you can self-augment. But you do need some concrete education. We have and we recommend it, but use recommendations and reviews and be careful with it. So
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for questions, because Kendra and I love talking about trading, and we love that we do have some experience now that we're, in this game 3+ years, and are more than happy to share everything. So all of our experiences and stuff. So keep them coming, please. Thank you so much for the comments. And you can go to our website, which is in the links below, any of our socials, and find us there. And then certainly just comment on this video, because we're here to stay and we have value to add, as do all of you. So thank you for being here with us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, everyone take care. Our best trading days are ahead, and we'll be back with more content for y'all. Have a good day. Thank you.
Bye.